What's going on, boys and girls? It's your favorite nobody slop tuber, Awful, back with another video. I guess this is the first time I make this style of video, so it's a bit of an oddball. However, this will be interesting to say the least. Awful, you could have left that part out of the script, goddammit. It's fine, they don't know, silly. Oh, wait. Alright. Some humor aside, it should come to no one's surprise that Bungie's marathon situation just got a whole lot worse, and there's quite a bit to unpack here, as the subject has some people divided, at least on Reddit, and I'd have to imagine some tone-deaf idiots on Twitter. So let's read this comment here real quick. And quote, "We have reached out to Antireal to discuss this issue and are committed to do right by the artist. As a matter of policy, we do not use the work of artists without their permission." End quote. I don't know, man. They could not have done that any sooner, rather than, Control C, Control V, all that shit, especially when it's a repeat offense. The reason it's publicly addressed in this interview is because they're under extreme scrutiny from their fans and artists alike. And while the suits up top are pulling the strings and taking every cost-effective measure for their not so highly anticipated product, they got both Joes over here on the pedestal to get cooked live on Twitch and YouTube for more than an hour. Now, deservedly or not, if you were to ask me, yes, these developers should be held accountable. I mean, a large part of the marathon art team, and I'm going to use the term allegedly here, they have allegedly been following the original artist for years before development for the game even started. So the notion that they didn't know and that it was an oversight with no excuse is devoid of any form of common sense and is an extreme level of an intellectual dishonesty. They knew exactly what they were doing. It was just a matter of time before they got exposed for the fourth or fifth time, and people started calling it out for what it is: outright plagiarism and theft of intellectual property. So to you, I say, my dear humble redditor, and anybody else that is trying to be a centrist edgelord, this wasn't really the first time. Now, I don't want to say that they're reaching because of Stockholm Syndrome and the extreme levels of copium, but I mean, it kind of is. Like, how many examples and victims of Bungie do we need here? How many points on a graph do you need to arrive at that same conclusion that any reasonable person have already come to? People didn't just blindly and unanimously come to that conclusion. Now, you can make the case for the confirmation bias from the press or the collective by external influence and people feeding into hyperbole of some sort, but we can see here two noteworthy examples. It's like they have been stacking divas for the past couple of years, but we're supposed to say, "Oh no, false alarm, everything's fine. Guys, it's not a wipe, keep going. Oh, yeah, we'll get the rating counter done here in a second." But I digress. Maybe I'm gonna lean more into devil's advocate on this topic, but also try keeping things relatively objective as much as possible. What I will say is this. This isn't Bungie's first rodeo. As a matter of fact, this is their fourth time an incident of this nature happens. Well, at least as far as I'm aware, and as far as the public discourse goes around the subject of Bungie and the forbidden P word. Now, for anybody running defense, I do truly admire your loyalty and tenacity, but the fact of the matter is purely just this. Bungie has all but lost a considerable amount of its credibility and creativity over the years. One that dates back to the underwhelming launch of Destiny 1 back in 2014, and while they have written a lot of wrongs since then, they ultimately followed it up with many bad ones, most notably waves and waves of layoffs. Now, sadly, my aging brain can't really recall every singular good and bad event that has spiraled since then, but what I can say with certainty that in the last 3 years, Bungie has all but dug their own grave. Question remains, when are they going to lay in it? So when it comes to them addressing the allegations, or insert the long-running meme in the Destiny community of "we're listening," it's hard to take any amount of PR or apology seriously. Now, this is mainly a result, and as much as I hate to say it, because of how cliche it sounds, corporate greed and willful oversight, or in this case, really, just another term for willful ignorance. Now, not to say that the devs are completely scot-free and shouldn't be held to any degree of accountability, with a common narrative that is being perpetrated in this day and age of developer good, publisher bad dichotomy. But from what it seems like to me, and well, a lot of people, at least the ones that have kept track of the interview and try not to shut that shit down, from the god-awful audio management or obvious mental gymnastics around serious questions through PR lingo, is that they are indeed scapegoating the alleged rogue employees in question. And to that I say, okay, sure, take me as a toddler. Let's entertain that train of thought for a minute, shall we? An oversight at this massive a scale just proves to me that an oversight on creative and leadership decisions was intentional. And I mean, really, who's buying that response? And by the very off chance, that very minute 0.0001 chance it isn't, then it just proves a severe lack of competence and agency over at Bungie. The case was so bad that no gameplay was showcased that day, which is likely an urgent case of having to completely overhaul the designs, scraping many of the plagiarized artwork, and starting from scratch. Which, if that's the case, then it will take quite a bit of time, and time isn't really a luxury that our dear friends Art Raiders, aka Bungie, can afford at the moment. You know, purely because the fact that the game launches at September 23rd, 2025. And well, with the current situation they got going on, I'm surprised that a delay wasn't announced. Oh, what's that? Breaking news. Can it wait? It dropped today and is relevant to the script of this video? Oh, for crying out loud. All right, let's see this. Well, shit. Didn't think this would happen, but just when I thought I was done writing this video, well, you know what they say, better late than never, you know what I mean? So after reading this article, and what's bizarre about this article is the reports trying to make the claim that allegedly all paid marketing and an impending delay is being instigated from Sony's end. The key thing to note about this article that none of it is official publication from either Bungie or Sony. However, the claims are highly plausible considering the gravity of the situation at hand. It just can't be validated at the moment unless we get something concrete from either the developer or the publisher. I guess this will give them time to address player feedback and, you know, create original assets for Marathon, as the player retention and the reputation from once the pioneer in the gaming industry is at an all-time low. I mean, this chart here says it all. You don't really need more indicators. Now, I don't know about you, but this game's retention does not look good. Now, I'm not gonna dog on the genre of extraction shooters. They aren't really my thing, so to speak. However, it seems that the Embark Studio seems to be doing a much better job when it comes to providing a promising extracting shooter. But let's stay on subject here. With Bungie, a large part of our audience was really hoping for, I don't know, perhaps a Destiny sequel, among other things. Halo's all but a lost cause in the hands of 343. But instead, we're getting a mediocre extraction shooter that, for better or worse, by a lot of people, is really just dead on arrival, and an initiatified version of Destiny on mobile. Now, I can understand a mobile Destiny game, as bad as it sounds, at least from a business point of view. It's going to print free money. But awful, no, they've gotten my baby. But who am I kidding? The Eververse store has practically been there since Rise of Iron. Well, I guess it's more crunch time for those poor devs working at the studio. Gotta make sure Sony and those shareholders stay happy because, man, right now I can only speculate how bad it is up there. Which leads me to the end discussion of this video. The best possible outcome, which is that Bungie somehow pulls a miracle and Marathon gains momentum, and they credit all those that have been plagiarized and escape getting devoured by Sony. But the more I say this, the more I sound like a naive sweet summer child sipping on that optimistic Kool-Aid, hoping for the inevitable to not happen when when the writing is on the fucking walls. Okay. But on a more serious note, now that the adults are here, let's talk about the big bad boogeyman. Ooh, scary. I.e., the worst possible outcome that a lot of people are predicting, me included, is that Marathon flops, Sony dissolves leadership, and Bungie gets consolidated due to all the mismanagement and financial loss that they've caused. The irony of all this to me really is Sony have blessed us with one of the greatest running memes and gaming disasters of all time, brought to you by Firewalk Studio, also known as Tone Police Karens and cringy activist millennials, resulting in 6 years of active failure, bad marketing, and somewhere north of $400 million burning a hole through their pockets. Sony said, man, we really hate money and gamers. Let's double down. We need a sequel for Concord. Oh wait, we've acquired the studio Bungie for $3.5 billion. I'm sure we can make them give us a Concord sequel. See, when I put it this way, it all makes sense. Maybe I wasn't schizophrenic after all. You see, I was memeing around the idea of Sony shouldn't remaster Bloodborne, but rather give us a sequel to one of their most original titles. A soulless microtransactional hell live service woke arena shooter game is definitely what we need more of. Now I'm actually humbled. The internet's prophecy has come true. Bungie and Sony did not fail to deliver. This is going to be another monumental financial disaster. Great memes and React content for years to come, but also a case study to show that no matter how much control corporations have over the final product, at the end of the day, the user will always come out on top, and they should always be the main focus. That being said, I feel like I've given my 2 cents on this. I truly don't know how things will look from here till September. I guess it's just a matter of we fuck around and we find out. But yeah, that's gonna be all for today's video. Like and subscribe only if you enjoyed it. And more importantly, let me know what you guys think in the comment section down below. But yeah, that'll be all. Thank you all for watching, boys and girls. And peace out, everybody. Peace!